Okay, so I'm just going to offer a really brief overview of some ideas I have on how to move from face-to-face classes into an online space. When you're preparing your face-to-face classes and you're putting together a lesson plan, a really good way of thinking about that is called the EAS model. EAS, which stands for explanation, activity, summary. Now imagine these three things you just do in repeat, or once or twice or three times throughout, say, a 1 hour. So you would explain a topic, you would do an activity on the topic, then you would summarize the topic, and then you would say, move on to the next topic. EAS. Now, when it comes to A, there's a few things that we can do around activities. There's three. We can do activities for comprehension. We can do activities for sense making, or we can do activities around applications. Comprehension is around, do I understand the new information that you've just told me? So it can be things like quizzes or checking facts. Is this such and such, true or false? That's around the comprehension. Sense making is when you start to take that new information and you connect it to either aspects of your own life or aspects of, say, the profession or other things that are happening within Australia or even globally. So starting to put it in context. Application is when you take that information and you're presented with a new scenario and you're trying to find a way that they work together. So you're applying that information in a certain scenario. So there's three things we can do within activities. Typically, in class time, we focus on comprehension and we focus on sense making. Applications usually for, say, assessments. So after we've done explanation, we've had an activity around comprehension or sense making, then we move into the summary. Summary does two things. Summary looks back and says, this is what we've just done. And summary also looks forward to connect it to the profession. This is what it looks like for you when you go out into the workplace, making those industry connections. Summary is also connecting it to your assessment. So in your assessment B, make sure you use this information in such and such a way. All right, so now we've got our lesson plan structure, explanation, activity, summary. Let's take a look at what you can do in terms of taking your face-to-face content and putting it online. Okay, I'm thinking through two options here. Let's go. All right, so the first option is an asynchronous option, and the second will be a synchronous option. Asynchronous option. Let's think through what EAS looks like online. When you're going through an asynchronous option, we're going to do everything in a Moodle book. So you would open up a new, say, banner, which says, online tutorial. When you click that open, you see one thing. And that is your Moodle book. You are going to embed everything in that book, which basically is just focusing or directing all attention into one place. It makes it really simple for students to know where to go. It also helps in structuring their learning. Okay, let's do E for our explanation. You can do this in two ways. Number one, in your Moodle book, you can write out text. Imagine your Moodle book, each page is like a PowerPoint slide. So you can literally take your PowerPoint slides and put them onto different pages of your Moodle book. Or alternatively, you can do a video. Now you can record yourself using, say, Zoom or WebEx, doing a slide share or like a screen share and showing your PowerPoint slides, or you could do just a video using your phone. But this is your E, so it's you explaining either through video or through words. Now we've got to get students to do an activity, okay? So that's your E. Now for the activity, there's a couple of things you can do. Number one, you can do some activities around comprehension. A comprehension might be an online poll, which is, like a true or false type of thing, or you could do a Moodle quiz, or you could do a Padlet wall, or you could do, say, a closed passage. Now, each of these, while you create it in Moodle itself, you can actually hide it but make it available and then use the HTML or the URL, use the HTML code and put that into your Moodle book. Okay, so you're showing students, now it's time for you to do this activity. All of these ideas are around comprehension. However, Padlet wall can actually also be around sense making, so starting to make those connections to, say, my past or my future. Okay, we've got E, we've got A, now let's do a S. Got to wrap it all up in a summary. These are often some words on a page saying this is what we've done in this module. Here were the 3 key points that we looked at, 1, 2, 3. Here's how it links to the profession. Maybe you want to do like a read this here and look at what it looks like, and you can have like a hyperlink, checking it to say another website. You can also link it to assessments. Here's how you use this information for a future assessment. Also in this summary, this is where you ask students to move into a discussion space. So here you would then have a discussion forum. Now the discussion is really around sense making and also sometimes application, but really around this sense making of the topic that you're talking about. Now for your tutorials, because your tutorials were set up at certain times, you would have a discussion forum thread, or you can have closed groups for each tutorial, and Moodle can set that. You can set that up in Moodle. This can be facilitated by your tutors, so that then they know at what would be their standard class time that people will be on this discussion forum, and ask students to do something quite purposeful. So post 1 and respond to at least 2. Okay, that's your asynchronous option. And we're back. Okay, so now, so we've gone through the EAS. That also can be, which is explanation activity summary. Now that also can be used in the synchronous space. So in the synchronous space, so you might be using either WebEx, which is supported by UOW, or you could be using Zoom or Adobe Connect or Big Blue Button. Each of these are basically teleconferencing tools that you can use. So at your standard time, so you have the tutorial at Tuesday 10:30, so you would send everyone the link and say at Tuesday 10:30, please be here at this location, virtually. So what do I do in my group? Well, first of all, you have an intro. Hi everyone, welcome. You're doing the talking here. Let's move through EAS again. So the first thing you would do is an explanation. So this is where you would talk. Again, you can share your screen when you're using teleconferencing, so you can have some slides set up. You can also go off to other websites, or you can go to YouTube clips. If you choose to go to a YouTube clip, make sure that you have a question or some sort of direction for your students. For example, watch this YouTube clip, because you're screen sharing, you do it and you hit play. Watch this YouTube clip and post 3 things that you can think of in the chat. Or watch this YouTube clip and think of 1 word that really summarizes what you're seeing. Again, post it in the chat. What that does is it avoids multiple voices at one time. It gives everyone a chance to offer some sort of contribution to the class. So that's just one thing you can do. So this is around explanation. So you doing the talk. Make sure you don't talk for longer than say 12 to 15 minutes. Next thing we can do in a synchronous space is activities. It's a range of activities we can do. We can do a Padlet wall. We can use Socrative. So a Socrative is online polling. It's free. You can do a Kahoot. What you can also do in WebEx and also Zoom is you can have an interactive whiteboard, so people can actually contribute text to the whiteboard, depending how big your class size is whether or not you want to do that. There are also often quizzes or polls embedded into the technology itself. So you can preset poll questions in Zoom and in WebEx. So at one point you can go, let's do a comprehension check over here and do like a true or false question. Next thing you need to do is a summary. Okay, so then basically you're summarizing back. Here were the 3 key things we learnt today. Summarizing forward. Here are the things that link it to your assessment, or it links it to the profession. Now, this EAS can last 10 minutes and then you do it, say, another 2 or 3 times, or this can take you 30 minutes, okay? So it's up to you how you want to structure that synchronous space. If you do want to have a class discussion online, make sure you're really purposeful on how you're going to allow students to respond. So for example, in the activity space, you want students to offer something, like verbally. So you will say, here is the question. Now I'm going to go around and say your name. When I say your name, please offer your contribution. Online spaces are not the same as classroom spaces. You have to be a lot more structured. with how you get students to respond to avoid long silences and also to avoid talking over each other. So that's why I encourage you to use the chat, or to say, we're going to now have a discussion around this particular question, and I'll call out your name when it's time for you to talk. Only do that if you feel like the group already knows each other and are comfortable with each other. Otherwise, probably move to the chat option. Okay, and that's the synchronous option. Good luck.